Spain, Portugal and France have agreed to build an underwater pipeline between Marseille and Barcelona that would carry natural gas and eventually hydrogen. The deal came after the three countries decided to abandon plans to extend the MidCat gas pipeline that would have led through the Pyrenees. Meanwhile, Germany is building pipelines that are connect the 4 LNG terminals under construction currently to the national grid. Now, projects like these would have taken years to materialize in the past, but the Ukraine war and Germany's energy needs have changed things dramatically.
Whether Germans are going to freeze this winter is being decided here, at this building site on Germany's North Sea coast. Manager Rani Bandari is under pressure, and now the rain is holding everything up.
When it rains, we have a problem. The ground is very wet here, and it makes the work much harder. Normally, at this time of the year, there's no construction work around here.
The pipeline is supposed to free Germany of its dependence on Russian gas. In just a few weeks, liquefied natural gas from Qatar, the USA and Norway should be flowing here. The work is going ahead pretty much around the clock. Despite mud and rain, the construction workers carry on.
We will be ready by winter. December 20th is the plan for commissioning the line, which can then guarantee the supply for the winter.
A few days after that, the first LNG tanker is due to arrive. The special ships can dock in the deep sea port. A mobile special pump ship will convert the deep frozen LNG into gas and send it through the new pipeline. Environmentalists and a local citizens' initiative are usually opposed to this kind of infrastructure project. Objections and court hearings often delay construction for years. But this time it's different. Because of the emergency situation, we're complaining less about the pipeline than we would otherwise. Of course, it's never optimal when something like this is built in nature. Rani Bandari is already thinking about the time after the gas crisis. In a few years, green hydrogen could flow through these pipes instead of natural gas.
All lines are hydrogen ready. This means that the entire pipeline is already developed in such a way that it meets the hydrogen standards.
But first, the manager and her team have to ensure that the 1,500 pipe sections are put together in good time. Germany is counting on them.
The energy crisis triggered by Russia cutting gas supplies has created a rift within the European Union. At a summit in Brussels, EU leaders managed to agree on a roadmap aimed at shielding consumers from soaring prices. But key differences have not been settled. Most member states, including France, are pushing for a cap on what they're prepared to pay for gas. But Germany, home to the EU's biggest economy, fears such a cap could see suppliers seek alternative markets. Earlier, I asked DW correspondent Jack Parrick to tell us more about the roadmap.
Right, so the EU leaders have announced what they're calling a roadmap. That's a bit of a bell here in Brussels. Another word similar to that is framework. Essentially means they haven't managed to come to an agreement. So they want to look at the way in which they can come to an agreement on these issues. After 11 hours on this energy topic, lasting until about 4 a.m. in the morning, they still couldn't get agreement on this energy price cap. So what they've done is they've tasked the European Commission, the executive arm of the European Union, to do basically a cost and benefit analysis on that price cap. How much is it going to cost? What can we do with it? Essentially, for the 15 countries, including France, as you mentioned, that are in favour of it, to try and persuade around the German government that it would be worthwhile, that it is manageable, that it will bring consumer prices down, and that it won't skew the market so that there becomes a lack of supply, where, as you say, energy producers decide to sell it in other markets where they can get more money if the European Union has capped the prices. They did manage to have some other agreements, like agreeing a voluntary purchasing system for gas. There's a number of other issues surrounding liquidity, benchmarks on liquid natural gas imports, etc., where they did manage to get together. But this big outstanding issue of the price cap, that just wasn't resolved. And then we've had this classic fudge, as we say, a roadmap to get there.
So burning the midnight candle and lots of coffee or tea, I imagine. What's the likelihood the leading powers, Germany and France, will resolve their differences on these measures?
Yeah, it's really hard to tell at the moment. I suppose that cost and benefit analysis will be pretty important. We know that EU energy ministers are meeting at the beginning of next week. They will obviously have a little bit more detail on these issues than the leaders might have, obviously that being within their portfolio. As you say, the Franco-German axis is really the crucial one in the European Union now, especially after Brexit. It used to be a sort of three big powers of the EU. Now it's only two, which makes it perhaps a little bit more difficult to horse trade. There was meant to be big cabinet ministerial meetings between the two countries next week, but they were postponed over these issues, likely to happen later on in the year, if then. It really is now down to France and Germany, so knock heads and see if we can get through. Hard to tell how quickly or when that might happen.
Okay, that's DW correspondent Jack Parrott. Many thanks.